Mga higala, kumusta? Welcome to another episode of the Chyrel Macale Cariaga show. Today is March 5, 2022. And of course, we are live at our digital antenna channel 51. We are also live at Parasat, the Jade cable TV, that is channel 27, 28, and 29. And we are also live at DEARBC cable TV analog channel 19, DEARBC cable TV digital channel 2. And we are also live at our Jade TV 51 FB page official. And of course, you can also see us live at YouTube channel, that is Jade TV 51_official. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is the premier guardian of the ballot. Its principal role is to enforce and administer all laws and regulations relative to conduct of elections, plebiscites, initiatives, referendums, and recalls. Now, this year's national election is nearly to commence, and certain issues and doubt is still casted on the COMELEC's credibility of an honest election. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in our studio today the regional election attorney, acting city election officer of Oroqueta City, my very good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Attorney Gina Luna Zayas Sabia. Hello, attorney. How are you?
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you very much for gracing this program. Of course, in a short notice, you came to the studio to give us this appearance and guesting for this show. Now, moving on with our, can we move on with the people is asking, number one, people are asking the citizens is, okay, people are asking, is voting important for citizens? And that is the primary role of the citizens to vote, because they have to exercise their right for that. Now, citizen is voting. The laws does not require citizens to vote, but voting is a very important part of any democracy. By voting, citizens are participating in democratic process. Citizens vote for leaders to represent them and their ideas, and the leaders support the citizens' interests. Now, attorney, give us the whole caption why it is very important to cast your vote.
Okay, firstly, it is our given right by the Constitution through by Article 5 of our 1987 Constitution, which is the right to suffrage. Secondly, it is our gift as a democratic and republican state. So if we can see in the Asian countries, we are the only country left with that republican democratic state. So in understanding that, we have to think that our leaders are not there as leaders, but they are there because we put them by voting them during elections.
Right.
So we are the source, the general citizenry, the general citizen who voted for a particular election are the source of that power.
Correct.
So we are democratic and republican because we cannot go directly to the Congress, vote for some laws or regulations one by one. So those elected in powers are there because of those who voted for them.
Right.
So that's the source of the power, and that's how we participated. So for me, we cannot later on say what happened to our government. Ask yourself, go back to where the time you have voted, how did you exercise your right to vote? So if we always have that mindset, we always have that kind of understanding why we are voting and participating in our electoral processes, then we are empowering ourselves that we are the source of the power and they are our representative. So they have to listen what we wanted to do and what laws to be implemented. So that's how important it is. We are the source of the power. So we must participate, but intelligently and morally.
Correct.
Responsibly.
Yes.
So this is not just a game where we have to go to the polling centers on a given election time, but this is our solemn duty, and for me it is a God-given right to us.
Yes, that's
because
right.
not all countries and citizens have this
Privilege.
this privilege. We Filipinos is unique. We were able to do that and freely do that. So dugangan nato siguro to be doing it intelligently, responsibly, and morally.
Right. Because the whole truth about it, in fact, I've actually posted this on my Facebook page. The whole truth about it is whoever is in power, cabinets are also in power. and they are handed the best privileges the administration gives, and that sometimes, you know, we say that the administration gives unlimited access to funds and appoints whoever is close to them. Anyone is elected are also given the same. So we should vote wisely.
Yes, precisely. With respect to the cabinets, they are the alter ego of the president. Thus also our LGUs, our department heads are their alter egos. So whatever implementations they wanted to make, they have to go through the channels of these cabinet secretaries or department heads. So not just the citizen, but those who are in power should also be responsible and morally mature to appoint those who are aligned to their wishes and their desires, how to implement the laws in our respective localities.
Yeah,
so,
right.
so it is always how the leader think, how the leader receive the mandate. So because if the mandate was received by a particular leader who is elected into power as a power in itself, then you lose the whole sense of being elected into that position.
Correct. And given the biggest power that you have in your hand, you know, acting as the executive chief of the military, can you imagine that the commander-in-chief of the military, the significance of that, the elected person in power, especially the president, should know and have the knowledge in militarization, and of course how to lead, because this is very important to protect the security of the republic. And sometimes, you know, we incapacitate some of these candidates who are being voted. It's because it is not far from the truth, and it is a reality in check that vote buying is still here. You know, this is in the presence of, and it's been in the election for many, many years. And it's like, when you cast your vote, some votes are actually being bought. And why the person is there, seated on that position, because of the vote buying. Now, that's definitely what's happening in the Philippines now. And some have casted so many doubts about the COMELEC, you know, the integrity, the honesty of the COMELEC itself. How do they do the process in counting the votes? And some would think and accuse COMELEC. Now is the time that we have to settle these doubts. In fact, because the election is upcoming now on May 22, in May 2022, so we need to assure the people, you know, how do we assure the people that the honesty and the doubt should not be there when the COMELEC, you know, engage in this election time?
Okay, firstly, let me address the issue of vote buying. It is an endemic, if we say so. It's the cancer of our society, but let me remind the people that vote buying is a two-way process. It takes always a buyer and a seller. So we have always been bombarded with this question, how do we stop it? So there's always simple answer I can give. Firstly, let me ask you, citizen of this country, who give money or who buys and who were bought? For me, it is a moral decision.
Yes, it is.
That it's time for us to say no.
Correct.
It is not just a sole responsibility of the commission.
Correct.
The stakeholders, the PNP, the army, and the whole government to stop it. It is ours.
Correct.
It is not just you, me, but it is a we. So it is a decision that it takes no prosecution.
Correct.
Because we can always prosecute violators, but can we convict? There is very, very little statistics as to conviction with regard to vote buying, because it is a very private offense. You have to have established that the money used came directly from the source, who is the candidate or his alter ego.
Correct.
But we all know money changes hands.
Correct.
And it can be done in so many ways. So the best way to stop it is not to tell you to stop it, but for you to say, I won't accept money.
I will not be bought.
I will not be vote. That my vote is not for sale.
Correct.
So that's number one. Number two is, let us be responsible. Because our politicians or leaders of these politicians who are running in a public position won't be doing that if there are no willing sellers of this commodity.
That's true.
So, it is a moral decision. It is a conviction for everyone to say no for that kind of act. And we can stop it. Because it will take a battalion of armies or police.
Correct.
As long as
to stop it.
To stop it. And it is a private offense. It can be done now that we are in a very advanced stage. We don't have to go directly to actually give money in cash. We can do it in so many ways.
And there are no paper trails.
Yeah, there's no paper trail because there is no document that
you're being signed that you were given this particular money and all that.
You can always say, I did not know it was for that. It is for some obligation.
You can always deny the charge.
Yeah, so that's why we have a very scarce statistics as to the conviction with regard to that.
I mean, I understand that the COMELEC has filed some. You know, there are cases that you have filed some, but it's not going to be very successful because the fiscal decides whoever is convicted or not. And then, aside from that, you need to present
evidence.
Not a circumstantial evidence, but a substantial evidence, therefore, that this was given to this person, the source was this one. And it's a long, you know, holding of who got one and then passed to this person and passed to this person. I mean, it's a very long story to tell.
Along the way, it will lose its koan. The purpose, the purpose was for buying votes.
That's right.
But how can we tell when there are so many reasons that money exchanges?
Yes.
So, for me, there's no need for prosecution. There's no need for so much people to do it. The court, the fiscal, the police, the COMELEC. It's just say no.
I think it's a personal conviction itself.
Yes.
You need to be convicted and think about yourself that I do not want to accept this money. I don't want to be bought, and you need to be very critical in your decision. And being wise is not a mistake.
Yeah, because I would like to think of it na people think it is correct or right because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
But there's one truth I always believe. No matter how many or no one doing the right thing, it is always the right thing.
Correct.
Even if 100% are doing the wrong thing, it can never be right.
I think it's for me as a personal experience. I have never had received anything. Maybe because I'm from the media.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to give me money because they're scared.
Yeah, because they will be divulged to the public on doing that.
Yes, like, who gave this money? And then I will make an investigation and they will get caught.
Yeah.
So the thing, it's better for me, like, you know, nobody was even invited me to be a part of this, you know, this party or this political party that I'll be aligned in this, and to make sure that I was supporting this candidate. I think it is very, very important as a media practitioner to really stand on a firm ground wherein it is your conviction, whoever is right for the position. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the media for the last 30 years and I've known so many politicians already, and the credibility now, and I think we know who is truthful and we know who lies a lot, you know, the personal character and the attitudes itself. I mean, it is very, very important. It's very critical for me to really cast my vote wisely because I know it would mean the future of my children's children.
It's our future.
And our future. And then the next future and the president itself, the security of the republic. I mean, it's very, very important. Look at what happened to Ukraine now. Very so sad. Very sad, you know. And then this wars is going to come in. We're just a small republic compared to them. You know, that's why it's very critical to really think and understand whoever is in power controls the nation. Now, the thing is sometimes, you know, I went through the qualification of the president, and it's not much for the requirement. Yes. And then I was very amazed yesterday because I was reading it. No person can be elected president unless he's a natural-born citizen of the Filipino. Okay, that's number one. A registered voter, able to read and write, just able to read and write. Can you imagine? So anybody can be president, a boxer, a comedian, a basketballist, or anybody from the sports, anybody can run for presidency regardless of the status of education. Now, a registered voter, able to read and write, at least 40 years of age on the day of the election, and the resident of the Philippines for at least 10 years immediately preceding such election. Can you imagine? I mean, like, I was just scared to death yesterday when I was reading, and I was, it's very important for me to really recognize that it is very important for me to understand who can be in power. Now, this is not a very, critical requirement, attorney.
Okay. This has always been addressed before. Before a person becomes a doctor, he needs to finish his course in medicine and pass the board. Before anybody can be a lawyer, he has to go to school and pass the bar exam.
Correct.
But they said, then why our leaders who are elected in power, who are holding our 100 million souls,
correct,
only have that kind of qualifications?
Exactly.
So this has to be addressed by our Congress.
Correct.
Because they always said that anybody can be a leader, but let us be realistic as the time goes, that we really need somebody who has a specific qualification. Because why can I be an ordinary teacher cannot teach if he really wanted to teach if he did not pass the board exam for teachers, the LET. So, and then we let our millions and billions of money to be managed by that qualification alone. So it's high time for me personally, high time for the Congress, the House, and the Senate
to amend.
To amend and take into consideration what are it does not a deterrent for anybody to run, but it is a standard so that we have an assurance that we have somebody in power
who's capable,
possesses minimum qualification,
and is worthy of power.
Yeah, because as I said earlier, he's responsible of 100 million souls. It is a country that he is running.
Can you imagine, attorney, for the sake of discussion, can you imagine somebody has to be knowledgeable enough politically, in economics,
yes,
in military,
diverse,
and somebody has to know about how to be, the character is also very important. So somebody should be compassionate to the people, who understands the pain of the people. Somebody has to understand that.
Yes.
Because if you don't understand the pain of the people, you will understand why they are suffering.
So, we are having
parameter unta, attorney ba? Like thinking like, why is this very easy for this, requirements to become the president? So anybody could be just the president.
Yeah, because
it was given.
The qualification of a president is just a higher qualification for who wanted to vote.
Yes.
To register, it's just a resident, a qualified of age, and no other technical qualification for that matter.
Right.
So, it is our frustration ever since, but it has not been on the table for as part of legislation. So, it's about time siguro that we have to set parameters for that. Not just the age and the residency.
And at least somebody had probably finished a master of political government administration or something like that.
Equivalent
qualification to any political, study on it. Because at least this person knows how to run the government. It's so frustrating, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I know that everybody is frustrated too, just like me, because having this known, and I was really shocked. Given this just very small requirement to become the president.
Yeah, and for any position to be elected into office as our leader. So. Maybe because before the problem is not as diverse now, and the activity is not as complicated now. So it's high time siguro we have really to really look into our constitution on that particular matter. Even now, let me continue. Even in the expense allowed by the commission using our omnibus election code.
Correct.
The commission has been proposing for the amendment for the 3 pesos per registered voter for the local position, and 5 pesos for the independent, 3 pesos for the those belonging to a political party, and 10 pesos for the president and the vice president and other national positions. Given the time, the inflation, and the monetary value we have right now,
they could have increased it.
There is a proposal already to increase it. Then 3 pesos it cannot even buy a
It's like a joke. It's a joke. It's really a joke for the registration.
For the conduct of the campaign.
Correct.
the allowed expense for per candidate that they have to report to the commission after the election. So this has been pending. I don't know what happened, but we are moving that it should be increased.
Correct.
Because even the mobility, the 5 pesos,
It's very slow.
the 3 pesos cannot even buy a bottle of
Correct.
water.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That is so ridiculous. And think about it. And it's been long overdue, and I think it's now time for us to amend this laws. You know, some because we have to understand that the laws of before, from the centuries before, are not applicable to the present times.
They may be applicable, but they are not responsive anymore.
Yes.
So we have to adjust to the needs of the time. Though the basic precepts are there, but we have to answer what is now at present.
Correct.
By having that amendments. We are not deterred to amend our laws.
That's
where
right.
in fact, we have to be dynamic in the application of our laws because there are things that has been not illegal before or it has been become legal now, or those things that has not been there before, which are now we are experiencing.
Especially in the digital times.
Yeah, we have to adjust really the digital activity. We have reached the moon.
Yeah.
We have reached the moon and we're talking about having vacation on the moon. But we're still having this discussion of the laws
Yes.
as old as time.
Can you imagine, attorney, before when we were kids, we were thinking at 2021 or 2020, you know, there will be spaceships running in the sky and all that, and we were expecting that. Here we are in the Philippines, you know, after COVID had hit, everybody is still being taught how to wash hands. I mean, I was like, this is so ridiculous. I thought we were, you know, in the past and thinking about the future that the technology is going to be, you know, that high and that, you know, we will not be able to
Back to basics.
it's like, it's really ridiculous for us, you know, like, I just couldn't even imagine, like now, you know, the importance of it is we have realized so many things after, you know, what COVID has done to us. And then some laws, you know, in fact, I'm very grateful to the President for the Bayanihan Act because that law actually would, the presidential decree, at least he initiated that for him to be able to respond directly to the people. Because if we would wait for legislation to actually act, it would take forever. Because you know why? It has to be approved by the Congress, then passed to the legislative body, which is the senatorial, you know, body, and then it has to be signed by the President. And we needed the help now. Like, we needed the help now. So I was very, very, you know, impressed by that. And I'm very grateful to the President for having the Bayanihan Act 1, Bayanihan Act 2, and then 3. I mean, these things, you know, it is a political will.
Yeah.
I think it's the political will.
An iron will.
An iron will to implement these laws. And able to respond in the current situation that the country is experiencing. Now, as we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be pausing for a quick break. And Attorney Gina will actually give us all the details, you know, the truth, and, of course, some discrepancies that he thinks cannot be performed now with the current situation of the COMELEC and its machineries. And we will be discussing more about, you know, the integrity of COMELEC now and why we are assuring the people that we can do an honest election as we come back. We'll be pausing for a quick break. Stay close.
Hello mga kadyaw! Ni ay mga simple nga mga pamaagi aron makalikay kita sa COVID-19. Manghugas kanunay sa kamot gamit ang sabon ug tubig. Kung walay tubig ug sabon, mag-alkohol. Magsuot kita pirmi og face mask ug face shield kung mugawas sa balay. Ilabi na kung anaa kita sa mga pampubliko nga lugar. Kung walay importante nga tuyo, magpuyo lang usa kita sa balay. Kung mahimo, wala usay pasudlon nga mga bisita. Kanunay mag-obserba og social distancing. Wala usay maglamanuhay og beso-beso kung makita nimo ang imong suod nga higala. Kini nga mga pahimangno, hatod kaninyo sa Jaw TV. Amping mga kajaw!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the Chyrel Macale Cariaga show. And as I've mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, we have, of course, our guest on our studio today, the REA election officer of Oroqueta City. We're discussing a lot of good subjects right now. Attorney Gina Luna Zayas Sabi is here with us right now. So, Attorney, let us discuss about the integrity of COMELEC now. And there are a lot of casted doubts about how you run the voting system, electoral system, and this doubts that have been casted has been there for many, many years. And people are still asking, is there an integrity of the COMELEC? And how do you run it? The machineries, is it reliable for us to trust, the machineries that we have now, that when you enter your ballot, it is safe and secured, and that we know that vote was casted wisely?
Okay. Firstly, I always believe in the system. Because prior to the 2010 election, we have that manual election.
Yes.
Where everybody is subject to suspicion, especially our electoral boards, who happen to our public school teachers. But when 2010 came in, from then on until today, until May 9, 2022 election, we have that electronic kind of election. It unburdened all our electoral boards from the start of voting, from counting, from tabulating, and transmitting.
Right.
So it can happen at one point only, using the machine. So I would say, based on our experience, based on our lectures, based on the system that we are doing, the election is as high as, I may not say perfect, because there are human participation.
Little glitches, I think.
There are little glitches because there are technical problems, because we are using an electronic system here. But based on experience, if you vote, if you are the first voter, you can see in the system that there's no vote on that recorded. After you have voted, you can see one vote was indicated in the display.
In the ballot.
The machine itself, it shows. And then you are given a receipt, the voter's verifiable paper audit trail. That's
who you voted for.
Who you voted for. You are given the chance to see again. From the time you have shaded the name of the candidate you have voted, immediately a second after you have feed the ballot into the machine and it is being read and correctly, you have not tarnished or whatever, you have not destroyed your ballot, you are given a receipt. So kung sa ato pa, if we buy something in a department, so we are given a receipt of how much we have paid. Then in our VCM, they are printing a receipt for you to see again if who you voted for is really reflected on that paper.
Yes. And you can have a comparison.
Yeah.
That you know that you have a double check that these are the persons that I voted for. And if that is that's insignificant. Now, it will not give you a receipt unless it's true and verified.
Yes. And then that receipt cannot, the downside is still in compliance of the ballot secrecy law, you can only see it by yourself. But nobody should see it or record it or take picture of it. And as you leave, then you know that the one they have voted for really reflected on my ballot.
Right.
So as the time goes on from 6 o'clock, which is the time of our opening of the polls, until the time of 7 o'clock in the evening, which is the closing of the polls, our machine is a standalone. It's not connected to any connection of internet. After the closing of the polls, automatic when our electoral boards say that they will close the polls at 7 o'clock in the evening, the machine will automatically print just like a calculator of the votes garnered for all the position from the national to the local by printing 8 copies of the election return.
This is per precinct, right?
Yes, per precinct, any established precinct for that matter. So it will print 8 copies of the ER for the national level, 8 copies for the local level. So 8 copies is your advance information that these are multiple copies of the same result. So it will be shown to the public, to the watchers, that we have this result. And after you have printed the 8 copies of that positions from the local to the national for the party lists, then you will transmit the result. And after transmission, you will print again another 22 copies of the same result. For purposes that anybody who wanted to have a copy of that result can have access to that.
Okay.
So that's how transparent the system is. Our teachers did not press anything but except to close the polls.
And you personally have drawn the ballot for yourself.
Yes.
And you have, have actually give your own and casted your vote on that machine by yourself and nobody helped you.
Yes, and it is an election offense. If you'll take picture or anybody
Or
should
somebody
take picture or document how you voted. Because it's our solemn right that right there and then that
For privacy.
nobody should know who you voted for. So it's like a segue. So let us not be afraid that you are harassed or coerced to vote somebody, because at the time that you will vote, nobody is there with you.
Yes.
And nobody should know who you voted for.
Correct.
So let us use that opportunity to really exercise our right intellectually, responsibly, and morally.
Correct.
So after that, if you have they have transmitted and printed all the results, the function of the EBs is done. And the transmission is by electronic.
Correct.
But if it so happened there are technical problems that there is no connection
Especially
to that.
if there is no electricity at the time
Yeah,
and there's no power, is there any backup?
There is a backup battery that will last for 12 hours.
Okay,
So
okay.
it can sustain. But it rarely happened that we have conducted the previous electronic elections where the power has been out for the straight 12 hours.
I think there is also I know that there are some instances and circumstances cannot be avoided in times of, but I think it is already coordinated by the Commission on Elections with the NGCP, with the providers and all that, that this should be power 100% at this day.
Yes.
Only this day. Can you not provide it for only for this day?
If there were brownouts or blackouts that happen, it is not because the NGCP has lacking power supply, maybe, but there may be some other fortuitous event,
minor probably,
event or other event beyond the control of anybody else, which we cannot avoid. But maybe it's less than 1% or 0.1%, but all throughout, from 2010 until 2019, we don't have that kind of brownout. So we were able to transmit. And if you happen to be in the canvassing board, the board is there just waiting for that sign, that green sign for each precinct to light. So we have the red, the yellow, and the green. The red is no transmission yet. If it is yellow, there is partial transmission. And if it is red, it's fully transmitted for all that precincts. So there are, in a barangay, there can be 1 or 2 clustered precincts.
Okay.
So if it is fully transmitted, it will turn into green. And we can monitor time to time how many had been transmitted. And if it is completely transmitted, then we can complete the canvas report and print all the necessary documents and automatically proclaim the winner.
Correct.
So what happened then was simplified. We don't have to have tabulation.
Yes.
We don't have to have
manual tabulations to the effect. Yeah.
But even now, the board of canvassers are sometimes bored waiting when is that light turn into green. For us, because there were problems of those who cannot transmit really because there are no signals. So we have to wait for them to come near to us, the BOC, and automatically transmit, or they can manually upload. Using the memory card reader, using the SD card, the main memory card, to be uploaded directly to the BOC machine. So we can have that, but there is no human participation.
This is all machineries.
Yes.
Okay.
So
electronic.
That's why do I discuss that exhaustively? To show to the public that COMELEC is there doing everything to protect your votes.
Yes.
And the COMELEC is the person who manage. But actually, who do the election, it is us, the voter, who consciously and early go to their voting center to cast their vote. And we have our electoral boards, who are mainly our public school teachers. So they are our heroes during election, because COMELEC only has 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 personnel in an office, but we cannot conduct this election without them doing the legwork. They are our hands, they are our mouth, they are our feet.
That's right.
So this is a collaborative effort. The election is not a work of one agency,
Correct.
but it is a multi-faceted activity of all the stakeholders. So we are all responsible here for the conduct of a very clean, honest, orderly, and peaceful elections. Now we have to be safe because of this pandemic. So that's our tagline for now is the safe, accurate, free, and fair elections. So it is our responsibility. So as to going back to the integrity of the conduct of the election, I would like to address it to the public. How did you participate? How did you participate in the conduct of the election? Then you may say that you have done it right.
Correct.
There is an integrity. We, the stakeholders, how did we perform our duty?
Correct.
And let the people know that there are teachers who have been not eating just to conduct the election.
Correct, correct.
We have teachers who
The
have
sacrifices they
the
make.
sacrifice they make. They have to walk 2 days to reach a particular polling center.
Yes.
And specifically, I would like to mention in Oroqueta City, there is a particular barangay which the poll workers has to go there 2 days before the scheduled election, because they have to go through the river, the mountains, using by feet, by horse, and by motorcycle just to reach there. So that's how the sacrifices of our all stakeholders.
Correct.
And complement to them is our police officers and armies who
Correct.
secure the area, that nobody should be endangered in their safety and their lives, not just for the electoral boards, but all of those who will be coming to the
Correct.
polling precinct.
That's
So
right, too.
if we have to say that, can we maintain the integrity? My question is, how do we perform? That's how we can say that our election, we are still faithful. We are faithful to our duty to conduct the election with utmost integrity and dedication. And that has been going on. And it has not been fully appreciated by the general public, how the workers toiled by not sleeping for straight 12 to 16 hours just to finish the election, because we cannot stop what we have started. Once the canvas is started, we have to be there at the canvassing board, unless we have to take a recess, because the results are yet to come, and it's also not reasonable to stay there. Then we need our personal necessities. We have to rest for a while, even 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
So I would like to say, so the integrity is within us. How do we perform? How do we respond our individual responsibilities on that conduct of our right to suffrage?
Correct, right. So, Attorney, hearing you that, in fact, there was a time that when the VCM came, you were present and I was present at the time when you actually conducted, and then showing it to the media itself, like how does the VCM work, and then how do we assure ourselves that the vote was casted, nobody seeing it, and we know all these things, with the assurance of me and of course my confidence to COMELEC now, and when the VCMs came, there is no, for me, room for error for that. I mean, I would assure everybody, for me personally, as judging it with my personal experience with the VCM machines, nobody can even, influence you or even cast the vote for you. You're the only person who's casting your vote. So why do you think some people are still casting doubts? Now, Attorney, please explain. Now, after these votes are casted, I know that we are actually transmitting it directly with all the counts and everything. How long does this count, transmitted to the NCR? I know that we only have one database, and then after we have proceeded with our, count, and then we know like this precinct and this particular region has already submitted, and then how long can we proclaim? Within hours or minutes, or how fast are we be able to collect all this data into the secure data that we have?
Okay. I'm holding my cell phone to tell you that the transmission from the clustered precinct to the EOC, to the Board of Canvasser, and to the transparency server takes as much as you having your text message.
Wow.
to
So that's about a
somebody.
minute or a second.
A minute. What took it long is for us to gather to the Board of Canvassers.
I
Because
see.
we have to wait those clustered precincts, just like I told you. There's a barangay that will take 2 days to reach.
Okay,
and
okay.
they cannot transmit there because they really cannot find a signal. We have to wait for them to go down to the
I
CT.
see. And collect all those.
And upload the result.
Now,
so that would
thinking
take time.
that is not paper trail, okay? This is actually
Electronic.
a USB or something collected,
SD card.
an SD card that you're going to hold. It's not about papers or the ballots that you're actually going to bring down with
Yes.
you. It is a memory card. So
Yes.
this plays a very important role
Yes.
for this to be transmitted. Okay.
So once it is transmitted, it won't
So,
take time.
And it is crazy if somebody would intercept it. Okay, if somebody would intercept and get it, how do you correct it?
How will you upload it?
How do you upload
when the
it?
system is
And
really unique for
Then
that?
aside from that, that memory card has also, like, for example,
Security features.
security features. How do you break that? You should be cyber crime expert or something like that to break the code.
Yes, precisely. Precisely. Our machine, our SD card,
Right.
our official ballots, and the I button to be used by the teachers operating the VCM are unique to each other. They have to be married together. They cannot be one from precinct to the other precinct.
Yeah.
That is specific, precinct specific. Our
Yeah.
VCM is generic.
Yeah.
Once the SD card is in place, that
Yeah.
makes it unique because it only contains the ballots to be inserted into the VCM by the number of voters in that particular
Correct.
precinct. And the ballot itself is configured that it only be received by that machine.
And the electoral board has the code.
Yes, you have the code. So,
And the person that's actually entering the code is the electoral board itself.
yes.
So when you bring the code, nobody can enter that specific memory card to the machine or the data system unless the person itself
Gives it.
gives it or holding the memory card gives the code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we know now whom to ask what
Yes,
happened.
yes, exactly.
So that's how fast what took time for us is we have to wait all the results to be gathered
Correct.
to proclaim.
Yes.
But based on my experience, granting there are no glitches with respect to the technical problem of the SD card or
Right.
the VCM, if the election is today and the closing of the polls is 7 o'clock in the evening, my experience in Valencia City last election, Monday is the election, to 11:30 in the morning of Tuesday, I was able to proclaim all the winners of Valencia
Wow.
City.
See,
So-
that's how great it is.
Before 24 hours after the closing of the polls, we have proclaimed.
I see.
Granting
Okay.
there are no glitches.
See, I mean, it is very important that the people should understand, the
Yeah,
work
the
that the
system.
government is actually working, and the integrity of it all is that we are trying to explain to you so that you will have, the trust and the confidence of the government and COMELEC doing its job. So we would like to ask everybody right now to understand, the process of it. Trust the process.
Yes.
I think the government would not allow this in fact if there are some problems. I think this will not go through officially, and I think the Senate and the legislative body will not also allow an approval on this.
Let me explain it in a very simple way. If we have trust the system in our banking system, we have our access transaction, internet transaction with regard to our funds in our bank accounts. That's how the configuration of the VCM with respect to the transmission of the results and the security features in place
Correct.
for our automated election system. So if there are some problems, it's so because there are so hackers, but how can you hack a system who has been online for just a minute just to transmit? And after that, the transmission, you are offline.
Correct.
So, if we have to hack something, it has to be online for a long number of hours or days.
Right,
So that's
exactly.
how, if we were able to trust the banks in our money, in our banking transaction using the internet, this is how our
System
election system works. So,
Wow.
maybe that has not been explained properly to the general public. That's why they're having this doubts.
Doubts, yes.
But if you have trusted the system, even in the use of our cell phone, if we can, it does not happen to anybody. When I said I love you to somebody and it will be received, I hate you. Maybe it will take days because I turn off the phone, but you cannot receive something that I did not send. So when I say I love you, you will always receive I love you, but not I hate you.
Right, that's true. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is actually, you know, very vital for our position now. We're very grateful for the Commission on Elections, you know, to come here with the representation of Attorney Gina Sabio to give us, you know, enlightening our minds and our thoughts that, you know, the assurance of why is it very important to trust the government in running the elections. So with this mind and thought, I'm actually asking all our televiewers now to understand and to be very sure of what you're doing, especially before you vote. You have to think in a very critical way. Do not be bought. Do not receive any money from anybody to influence how you cast your vote to the person that is worthy of power in the position. So any last words, Attorney Gina, before we proceed?
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Ms. Che. And in behalf of the Commission on Election, Region 10, we're so grateful for this time that we were able to reach out as many as we can, not just limiting to the provinces of Region 10, but all throughout who can see and access this program. So we'd like to thank now our partners in the conduct of the election, especially that we are having this almost month-long training for our electoral boards. Our teachers, if you happen to know, are on the ground in our training hotels for them to be equipped, not just knowledge, but efficiency in how to use the machine and how to make it really accessible to the public, so that we will be having poll workers who has knowledge, who has the competence, so that everybody will be assured that we will have an orderly, peaceful, and credible election.
Right,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Gina Sabio. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everyone for all our televiewers right now. To all the 24 municipalities support 2 component cities and 80 barangays of Cagayan City, Chyrel Macale Cariaga Show has been thanking everyone, all of you, for gracing the show and, of course, watching today. Until next time, until Saturday again, that's 9 to 10 in the morning. And always remember this, that do not ask for what the government can do for you. Always ask what you can do for the government. So be a good citizen and, of course, vote wisely. So that's been your host, Chyrel Macale Cariaga, for the Chyrel Macale Cariaga Show. Have a very wonderful time ahead of you.